Hello, YouTube. Just doing video 2 of the SaaS project in 30 days for $100, and I've already gone over my 30 days. But the large chunk of the program is done. I've still got this core portion of the program to do, but I'll go into later where that really wasn't my bigger concern. The login and sign up and the payment system is complete, and that was the one that was kind of giving me some problems. Kind of going back to what has been taking so much time. I do have a regular job. I've owned a factory and kind of manage that with my brother and my dad. So I've been having to work at that a little bit more, and I've been doing this more on my spare time and when I'm not homeschooling my son. So what I've been doing is I've got about 15 hours in it so far. I've probably had to rebuild it 3 times just because I didn't like the way things were going. It was easier to start over. And what was really giving me some problems was figuring out how I was going to do the payment system. Now, I was going through it a little bit in the authentication and the sign up and used various methods in Django. I used Django all off, a time or two. And, I was trying to figure out how to store additional information into the programming that I needed. And what I ended up coming about doing was not putting it in the authentication system. Was I ended up splitting that off and going with a separate database that is connected to the authentication in a one-to-one relationship. So every time that somebody new signs up, it automatically makes this other database, but it doesn't fill in any data, but it does create it. So what that does is you've got an authentication system and a database that tracks that, and then directly related to that one is a whole nother database that keeps track of like your company name and your email and phone numbers and just the stuff that we needed to track to be able to generate this website that we're doing. So just to recap, what this website does is it allows a customer to come in and like fill out some like some about us and the company phone number and the contact information and all that, and I'm building a template and that information is going to be plugged into it, along with inventory and all that is kind of the core of the program. Now the reason we're doing that is we're allowing people to just you know enter information and have it plugged directly into a website that we're maintaining and will always be maintained and will always be up to date because we're only running a couple templates, so it's real easy for us to keep track of this. So they'd never have to worry about updating their website and all that. All they got to do is go through and make sure that their phone numbers are current, that their about us and their contact information is good, and they'll always have an updated website for $49 a month. And if they need to update their inventory, they can do that through their smartphone or on the desktop app without ever really touching the core of the program. We're doing that, in the templating system. So we're maintaining the template. They maintain the information that goes into it. I think it's a pretty good idea so far. So what I've gotten done, like I said, is the login and sign up and the payment system, and that was way harder. The actual core of the program really isn't that bad. I knew I could knock that out pretty quick. I've done several many projects that have that, and even though I'm fairly new as a coder, I'm not new to business. I've done quite a few businesses. I've been programming for just a couple months, but the core of the business, I understood how this thing worked, and I needed to know how it was going to go. Now, the good thing is last week I actually put out on my personal Facebook that hey, this is what I'm planning on doing. This is where I'm wanting to take this company, and I'm looking for a couple people to get me started. You know, not even didn't even talk about money, didn't talk about any of that. I said I need businesses that are small businesses that need a website, that have inventory, that would be interested in this kind of thing. And I had a couple people that were that are tagged on the post, and ended up talking to them. One of them was an old guy that I was in the Marine Corps with, really solid dude, really liked him a lot, and he has a gun store that he runs, from his house and online. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I can figure this out. I own a gun factory and, we do, quite a bit of business. So I understood how guns worked. And I have a guy that does equipment sales and, was going to hook up with him. And that, like I said, I understand that and know how that works. I'm like, all right, got this one. Well, the good thing is I had lady here local that, has 2 consignment shops. I'm like, all right, this is new. This is what I was hoping for. I was looking for something that was out of my wheelhouse that would, teach me the other side of it, more of, the female clientele and how they want their website to go and all that. It's going to really help me on my templating a lot. And she was kind of my target market. She's like, relatively young, very connected on social media, was already using Facebook to sell a lot of things, knows that she needs a website, but did not know how to go about doing it. I'm like, okay, cool. This is validating my idea. One of the big problems you're going to have in software as a service is making sure that you build something that somebody wants. So you want to get as much validation from people that are willing to give you money, and that's key. You've got to be somebody that's going to give you money and going to pay for it, because nobody wants to tell you that your baby's ugly. So if they're putting their own money on the line, even if it's $1, it doesn't matter what it is, you have to be able to say, I am going to charge you for this. Now, I'm going to work with you to make sure that this is exactly what you want because this is a new product, but I am going to charge you for this. And you will get a whole different level of integration with people when they know that you can work with them. I'm like, okay, so, but anyway, I was talking to her and I'm like, this is what I'm wanting to do. It's probably going to be really buggy at first. I'm probably going to crash it. It's like this is a new product, but we will get through this together. It's relatively simple. Most of the problems we're going to have are just due to me not, me messing something up. If have been programmed for 22 years, like I probably could breeze through this in a day. I'm not that guy, and I'm not going to hire that guy either because I need to know how this program works. So I need to be the one that makes all of these changes and understands the customers and does everything at first because I am a one-man show. No matter where this company goes, if we're $100 million in 3 years, I need to understand the nuts and bolts of this business from every aspect getting started. And the best way to do that is just do it. So now, where we are right now, like I said, login, sign up, and subscription already done. I use the Django built-in authentication through a custom user. That way I can go through and add fields into the authentication system if I needed to. Like I was saying before, I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to use that just for authentication. I've got a one-to-one relationship to a profile database or a model, if you speak Django. Now, what that company profile does is that's where we're going to put all the information in. All the information about the company, the about us, the contact information, all that will be pulled and put into that template from that user model. So the inventory is also going to associate itself with that user model, the company one, so that every time a user adds inventory, it will be associated to that company. You tracking? So everything basically comes back to the user. That the user signs in, the user is the one that enters all this customer information or this company information, and they're also the ones that put the inventory in, but the inventory is directly associated to that company. So when I build the company page, it will be pulling from the database that is associated with it, and it's going to make it a lot easier on me to get this thing going. I know that doesn't make sense, but think of it like a tree. That the top of the tree, or the root of the tree, is actually the user. And the trunk is the company, and all of the inventory that comes up around it is all associated with that same trunk and to the root, if that makes sense. So everything is built from the user. It goes through a company, and the inventory is like the leaves. So that's how everything's going to be associated with it. That you'll never see inventory from another company in this company's page. So it's all in databases and models and views. If you don't program a lot, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but hopefully I was able to break it down where you can kind of understand how this is going to work. So I ended up with a couple of users that did agree to actually pay me for this thing. So I'm going to get some good feedback. I've got everything built that I needed to as far as the login and sign up and the money side of it. The money side I ended up using Stripe. Tried a bunch of different ways of doing it. Some of them were more complex than others. What I ended up going with was a system where they keep all of the information about the credit card, everything except for just a customer ID that they generate, which I get back in a webhook. Everything else is on their system. I did that on purpose. It ended up making my life a lot easier on the programming side, but it also takes all of the credit card and integration data away from my system. I am kind of paranoid about protecting my user data. Now, if somebody ends up hacking me, God forbid, all they're going to see is some inventory and a company address that they could have gotten off of the website anyway. There's nothing critical in there. I really do trust Stripe. They've been around for years. They don't really have any problems. They're got a great reputation in the industry, and they were going to be doing the credit card processing anyway. So for legal compliance and for my own state of mind, I was putting as many layers between a possible hacker and the user's credit card information. So they have to go all the way through me, all the way through Stripe, all the way through these different layers to get there, and it would be almost impossible for that to happen. There's some really good hackers out there, but that's going to be really hard, is getting through all those layers to get that. So I'm doing it to protect my customers. So got that done. So where I'm at now is I have a very ugly website that is fully functional, and you can sign up and log in and pay money and everything goes through like it's supposed to. And it looks terrible, which has made me so happy. Is I ended up doing the front end of it on Bootstrap, but it's just nothing but a bunch of lorem ipsum, filler text and some pictures that make no sense to anything. They're just there for layout. And I'm building this system on top of it. So building software is a lot like restoring an old truck or something. You really want it to be mechanically perfect before you go squirting paint. I'm trying to get this thing up and moving and get everything worked and everything safe and as flawless as possible into a user interface which flows easily and is easily understood before I worry about making anything pretty. Like most programmers, I do have a preference, even though I'm a full stack programmer. I concentrate more on the back end than I do the front end. It's just kind of how I think. I think in systems. Front end people are people that are really good at making a website pretty. And I can always go back and later on is hire somebody to just do the front end design, and I would just go through and put my template tags in where they need to go. Perfectly comfortable doing that. May do that, may not, don't know. Probably in this alpha beta stage, I'm probably going to do everything myself before I contract anything out. But I can get it working, and I can make it where it delivers a good product to my customer. A good responsive website that you can look at on a cell phone or wherever. I've gotten that done. So where we're going with it now is I've got a couple template views I've got to do. I've got to make the system kind of work and get the URLs to line up. It's probably going to take me a couple days now that I've gotten everything kind of lined out. And we're going to get an alpha test going, and I'll launch it through Heroku and give it to a couple people and let them play with it, and then I'm going to kill the database. I'm not going to give it to customers at that point. Once I'm kind of happy with how everything goes back and forth with just some friends of mine and family, then we're going to go into like a beta test, which is going to be live. I'm going to give my initial customers, a free period for a while. I'll do that through Stripe and a coupon code, but they will be paying customers. They will, until we get this right. I want them to play with it. I want them to be comfortable. I want to get their feedback, and I'm going to work with them as closely as I can without bothering them, because nobody likes that guy, without bothering them, is, figuring out exactly what they need and how we're going to do this. I'm going to start out with a nice generic template, and then I'll start splitting it into industries. Like, a car sale will look like a car sale website. A consignment shop will look like a consignment shop. Appliance sales will look like appliance. But we're not going to start out that way. We're going to start out with more of a generic and go from there. And then I'll start adding the templates as I figure out where the market is. So really happy with how everything's gone. I've spent $12 on a domain name for mysimpleinventory.com, and I've spent another $12 on a monthly subscription for a Bootstrap generator that it didn't end up using. I didn't like it. It was too complex. And so I've got $24 in. I've budgeted $100 for this project, so I'm almost there. We've almost got the project complete, and I'm 2 pizzas into it, basically. And everything's kind of going according to plan and pretty smooth. A little longer than I wanted to be, but, oh well, here we are. And like I said, I'll update in a couple days when we go from there. But, if you got any feedback or any questions, I do check this fairly often, so let me know. But I'll let y'all know when I get the rest of it done. See you later.